will be better next time I try. And even if I still can't do it, yeah, you know that I'm gonna stick to it. Yes, it's all about going through it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Whoopsie, whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies are what it takes to get better and better every day. Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies, help me look, see, I'm better at this today. Woo! Whoopsie, 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 whoopsies.
I'm a little embarrassed when I look at my drawing compared to this. I'm just not getting anywhere with this. It makes me wanna hide. Aw, don't be embarrassed. Don't hide.
You should have seen mine the first time I tried. It took a lot of whoopsies to look this way.
No one's perfect on their first day. Whoopsie.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay.
It's okay. Whoopsies are what it takes to get better and better every day. Whoopsie, 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 whoopsie.
Well, what about this? I want to jump rope, but nope, I just can't do it.
Well, not yet. Come on and practice with me. You'll see there's nothing to it.
Whoa! Whoopsie.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies, help me look, see, I'm better at this today. Woo!
Wait.
It was only a dream, the waves of evil crashing over us. It was only a weak and faithful scream beneath the battlements. I know it's hard, but for long, before it's too long. Wake up, my love, please don't give up on me. It's hard. Wake up. It was only a dream, the waves of evil crashing over us. It was only a weak and faithful scream beneath the battlements. But I know it's hard, before long, before it's too dark. Wake up, my love, please don't give up on me.
What is up? What is up, you guys? We are back at it again with another amazing day of 100 days of Rootkit. Are you hyped? Because I'm hyped. Today's about to be a very fun day. Alright? We're going to be talking about exploits. Networking, exploits, viruses, the whole jam. It's going to be a ton of fun today, alright? So let's go ahead and cool off a little bit on the music and make our switcheroony here to our chill stuff, shall we? If it will load. There we go. Alright. Well, if you are new, hey, thank you for joining in. If you are coming back, well, thank you for coming back. We are Rootkit, a non-profit organization registered here in the US of A. Now, we have a bunch of cool things going on through this whole event. Now, if you go over to our site, you'll see this little blog tab. If you click on it, you'll be able to see these giveaways we're doing. So right now we're on the week 4 giveaway where we're going to give away every single style of sticker we have to one lucky individual. So go ahead, go here, costs no money, you just enter in your information and then subscribe to our YouTube channel, Twitch, various other stuff, and you'll get points to enter into the giveaway. Super easy. Now if you like what we're doing and you want to help support us, you can go on over here to this link, which I'll go ahead and drop in to the chat, and you can donate to us directly. Everything you donate is tax deductible, so make sure you write it off. And then depending on how much you donate, you can get our stickers, the limited edition stickers, our collab t-shirt, or this amazing sweater. Look at this. This thing is so comfy, and we got the Rootkit logo on the back. Also, all donations are being matched 1-for-1 up to 10K donations by anonymous donor. We have various events here like teaching for 24 hours straight and shaving my head, and then the beard shaving. I don't want to talk about that one though. All right, let us move on. If you want to continuously support us, we have our Discord and Patreon that you can subscribe to. If you do, I'm in the events chat over on the Rootkit Discord, and you are able to hop in there and talk to me at any times, ask questions, and I will answer them. If you don't have the money to pay for that, or you just don't want to, there's always the stream chats that you can ask your questions in, and we will be answering them. All right, let us move forward. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns from anyone? Go ahead and just type them in the chat. I'll be checking it periodically. If you want to follow along with us, you can go over to our GitHub. That's going to be github/rootkit-org. And we have our comp sci roadmap here. This is what we're following along with. Everything is posted here publicly for what you need to learn in order to get to pass our exam and get your comp sci cert so we can get you a job. All right. So we're talking about network security today. Very important. You don't want to end up on the news, do you? That's how you end up on the news. Things get hacked all the time. Riot Games just got hacked yesterday, 2 days ago, to a social engineering attack. We're going to talk all about these various different exploits. All right, let's dive in. Network security. So everyone in the media and stuff, they use terms like hacking and I don't know, what other buzzy terms do they use besides hacking? Hacking is more of the rudimentary verbiage for it. In the actual industry, people don't use the term that often. It's usually called network security or cyber security. Those are the professional terms, the elegant terms that you want to utilize, and you should start putting in your vocabulary as we move forward. All right, if you Google things with those terms, that's how you'll get the results that you want to see when you are investigating these types of like viruses or so forth. Use those terms and they shall reap benefits for you when you are Googling stuff. So let's see what Google has to say, what the definition of network security is. Network security consists of policies and processes and practices adopted to prevent, detect, and monitor unauthorized access, misuse, modification, or denial of a computer network or network accessible resources. So everything potentially bad, but not just everything potentially bad, how you go about preventing it, detecting it, and monitoring it. All right. So not everything is, you're not able to just block everything. If something new comes out, which a new thing that comes out that no one knows about yet, it's called a 0-day exploit. If someone uses a 0-day exploit against you, there's not much you can do against to protect against it because no one's known about it. It's brand new. All right, so that day would be day 0. Just it's kind of taken off the nomenclature from if you drop a bomb or something, it's the ground zero. But yeah, it's called a 0-day attack. Now, network threats. Network threats are going to be anything that could potentially be coming across your network. So those would be things like unauthorized individuals, malware, just anything that we have pretty much listed down here below. Those could be potentially threats to your network. Additionally, power. If power is not running to your servers, that would be a network threat, because if you don't have power, you can't run your servers. So anything that could threaten and bring down or compromise your network, that would be a network threat. Whether you're using cloud infrastructure or your own infrastructure, you are still always comparable to network threats. Comparable? Is that the right word? You can still be taken down by network threats. So the only way to protect against these threats is you need to know them. You need to know about them. You need to know how they are made and possibly make them yourselves, because you can't know your enemy if you don't study them. All right? If you don't study them, you won't be able to protect against them properly. And a lot of people are scared to look into this, and a lot of people that do have this knowledge don't really teach it because they want to keep their secrets, which is terrible. This information should be widespread and known by every individual because it's not scary. A lot of them are very elementary in how they go about doing what they do. You just need to know that. You need to know what they do so you can protect against it, because it's not that hard. It's pretty easy to protect against most of these threats. All right, even though people think it's impossible, it's pretty possible to protect against most of them. All right, again, 0-day, you can't protect against what you don't know. So let us move on here. So ups are these things called uninterruptible power supplies. You're going to see these all the time in server rooms, and you're going to see them all the time at big corporations. What are they? They are just batteries. They are big batteries that your computer plugs into, and those computers plug into the wall. They're there, so if power ever goes out, your computer is fine. Your computer will still be on. Some of these ups will automatically turn off your computer in an elegant way so you don't lose any of your information. Other ones won't do anything. They'll just give you power, and they'll just make a beeping noise that hurts your ears. So it's telling you it's lost power. You should now turn off your computer. They're not meant to be used for running your computer for a long amount of time. They're just there to give you enough power to supply your needs for 30 minutes, maybe an hour, just enough for you to save everything that you're doing and then shut everything down. Also, if it's just a temporary outage, like 30 seconds, a minute, it will be there just to keep you online during the power outage. Now, bigger farms like cloud farms will not just have ups, but they'll have dedicated generators on standby. Usually these will be massive, like diesel engines right outside of the warehouse that will immediately kick on if power ever goes out, and they'll run those servers indefinitely. until power is finally restored, because cloud infrastructure, you really don't want that to go down, because that is what powers the world. Google, Amazon, all the services that run on Google and Amazon, like Snapchat, different news outlets. I'm trying to think of, always when I try to think of big companies as examples, that they all run on these services. So it would not be good. Now, something that we've already talked about that you can use to help for network security is RAID systems. All right, this will help you keep your services alive if there's ever disk failures, or if any of these pieces of malware down below ever compromised something or destroyed a disk. You could have backups that were viable that you could spin up. So RAID is a great way to keep your whole entire infrastructure up, and that's what this is all about, is keeping things up, running in perfect order. All right, so there are several different ways you can access a network. All right, now there is one way that will guarantee that you're screwed no matter what. All right, and that's going to be physical access. So if someone can physically access your network, there's very little you can do to prevent them from doing something malicious. Because anytime you can get your hands on hardware, it's pretty much game over, all right? Because you can then tweak that hardware, which bypasses the software, because if you can change the underlying hardware, there's nothing the software can do. So physical access is just what you think. Someone has physical access to your servers, to your computers. All right, this is the end all be all, the one you want to avoid the most. Any unauthorized users on your campus, you don't want them there either, because there are also the threats of people blowing up or physically destroying your infrastructure with this physical access. That's why a lot of places, government agencies, big corporations will utilize things like facial recognition. They'll have badges that you'll use to badge in to these facilities, usually in multiple layers. There will be an outer layer that you have to badge into, and then an inner layer that you have to badge into, and potentially that will lead to a building that you could badge into, and there may even be levels inside of that building where you can only get access to some rooms if you don't have the right credentials. This is to keep physical access as small as possible, because again, you don't want just everyone to have access to a server room if they don't need it, because if they get physical access, that's game over. All right, there's very little you can do to protect against physical access exploits or just straight up destruction. All right, let us see here. Any questions? If you guys have any questions, just go ahead and drop them in. Next is going to be logical access. All right. Logical access controls are tools and protocols used for identification, authentication, authorization, and accountability in computer information systems. All right. So let's see here. Logical access controls control limits. Logical access control limits connections to computer networks, systems, files, and data. All right. So this is going to be people on the same network as you. So someone that's in maybe HR that's trying to launch an exploit, that can be stopped. Even though they are on there, they don't have access to the actual computer they're trying to potentially compromise. You can sniff these out. You can use things like Wireshark to look at traffic, all right? So for logical access, there are lots of things you can put into place, like firewalls and so forth. There are ways you can protect your network. You can use VLANs to isolate people so they can't reach out to more sensitive hardware. So you definitely want to utilize that whenever possible. And then there's remote access. So this is someone outside of your network coming in and trying to do something potentially malicious. Or maybe they just want to, they're VPNing in, all right? They're remoting into your network and now they're a part of your network. A lot of these can be all three of these in normal times are normal. Like, you need people to have physical access, logical access, remote access to the networks. It's all about having things into place to help make sure everything is in a protected state if someone wants to overstep or go about maliciously and do something they shouldn't be doing. All right, you need to at all steps be compartmentalizing everything in your company in order to ensure security. Now, this extends past in general computer science in the computer realm. This is very relevant to if you're running a ma and pa like bakery, if you're running McDonald's, if you're running, I don't know, a farm. You don't want people to just have access to the cash that is there, or maybe they just have full access to maybe some of the hardware, the machines that you have available. You will physically put barriers between those sensitive, expensive things or that cash to keep people away. So that's physical access, in the real life. Now, physical access, just like computers, I said it's impossible to, if someone's coming after you in the computer world and wanting to compromise your machine, if they have physical access, they're gonna win most of the time. Same thing if you have a safe. If someone physically accesses your place and grabs that safe, guess what? Your money's gone. All right, it's only a matter of time before they crack it open and go off with the money. No safe will keep anyone out indefinitely. They will get into it eventually. Same thing with physical access with computers. Logical access would be like people on your business, on your farm. There are people, let's say for a farm example, need to be out on the farm picking things. Other people are going to be driving the machinery. You don't want just someone that's meant to pick fruit or vegetables or whatever to hop into those machines and drive off. So you will have typically keys, all right, that only some people are allowed to have. That's keeping things separate. Or maybe there's a garage that you park these in and the normal people that are out on the farm can't get access to it. That would be like your VLANs in a network. You're keeping people isolated. It's there, they can see it, but they can't actually get into it. And then remote access is pretty unique to the computer space because someone can access it from afar. Now, all malware, and malware encompasses everything we're going to be pretty much talking about that's highlighted here, is just software. The difference between malware and normal software is the malicious part. All right? That's the key thing, is all of this is software. You can write these things. The special thing here is they're malicious. You can write a good virus. All right? You can write a good rootkit. You can write a good spyware or ransomware. All right? There are legitimate reasons on why you would want to make those things. There are also malicious reasons why you'd want to do it. All right? There's a fine distinction. It's kind of like, think of Facebook, for example. There is a good reason to have social media platforms, but there's a fine line between them being for good and them being for just making money off of you and in keeping the clickbait and rage culture go on. There's a fine line, all right? You can either stay on one side, go on the other, or be in the middle. And that's where we get into the territory of several different types of hackers. There's the white hat, the gray hat, and the black hat. White hats only do it because it's their normal paid job. So if you work in cybersecurity and you have a job to secure some infrastructure, or you're paid to hack into someone's network, right? They're paying you up front before you do it. That is going to be white hat. Gray hat is kind of in the middle. Sometimes you'll just do things without asking permission and then come afterwards and then be like, hey, you need to secure your stuff. They will usually not ask for money, or they'll try to follow up with some type of consulting and make their money in a non-malicious sense immediately afterwards. Because if you hold them ransom, or you are not willingly going to disclose what you found out and then maybe publicly post it, that's where you get into black hat territory. All right, that's where you're doing it for pure financial gains and only for the means that benefit yourself. There's no other reason why you would be doing it that besides of those. So that is in the black hat section. I don't know why that is so hard for me to say right now. Any questions so far? So malware, if you guys have questions, just go ahead and ask them. Malware is short for malicious software. Again, it is just normal software that you can write, but you're doing it for a malicious reason. All right. There are several different types of malware: viruses, worms, Trojans, rootkits, and bootkits. These are similar but also different. Adware, spyware, and ransomware. Those are the big ones that are malware. So let's go ahead and take a look at what a virus entails. Virus, malware. A virus is a type of computer program that, when executed, replicates itself by modifying other computer programs and inserting its own code into those programs. All right? It's just like viruses in real life. It will continuously try to replicate it in the computer and try to spread potentially out to other computers, all right? But the big thing is it's a self-replicating program, and it will modify other programs in order to keep itself alive. There could be good reasons for you normally to make software that does this. If you do it in a malicious way, then it becomes malware, all right? Worms. Worms are going to be, let us see here. Worms are going to be also programs that replicate itself in order to spread to other computers. So typically the difference between viruses and worms is viruses will typically stay on the same computer, and worms will just spread. They'll go as far as they can. Anything that touches the network that computer is attached to will just be gone. It will be compromised, all right? Those are the differences. You can have compounding things. So a piece of malware, that's the overall term that you want to use. A piece of malware could be a virus and a worm. It could infect the host computer like crazy, infect potentially hundreds of different applications on a single computer, and then once it sees that it's a safe time on the network, it will then spread like a worm out and about to other computers. Any questions on that? A Trojan is these are all pretty much named off of real world like things. So Trojan is just like the Trojan horse. All right, it looks like a normal application. It functions like a normal application, but it's doing bad things underneath the hood. All right, this is a very, very common piece of malware that's in a lot of people's mobile phones. All right. For example, TikTok is not trusted by the US government because it's been found to spy on you, all right? And there's various other things that are going on potentially. Same with several other different applications where they're giving you a real product, but under the hood, they're doing extra stuff that they don't want you to know about. They're being malicious, all right? That doesn't have to be compromising and destroying your phone, all right? It could be just seeing your contact information, monitoring your messages. Like, it could be very small things. It doesn't mean they're looking through your video cameras. That's on the very extreme side of things. It could be way more subtle than that, all right? Trojans are a very common practice in today's malware scene because it's profitable on two ends. They can give you a product that can make them money, and then they can do malicious things which can also make them money. So it's a win-win. A lot of these, which you'll see, aren't very common anymore. except if they're very, very profitable, because again, most hackers are going for money. They don't care about you. They don't care who you are. They don't care if you don't have money. If you don't have money, most likely you will not be the target of a cyber crime, because these are people that are committing crimes to try to make money. And it does not matter whether it's a government organization or an individual. They are both trying to make money off of you. All right? They're both trying to hack and make money off of people. All right? Governments also can make money off of you doing this. North Korea is probably the most infamous for doing it because they are sanctioned to hell. They can't do jack shit. So what do? They resort to crime. You can look up and see all the news articles about it. They have a very active hacking scene. All right. Rootkits and bootkits. Rootkits are things, is a piece of software. Most notoriously, it's going to be, if you've ever played Valorant, you've installed a rootkit. Malware. Rootkits are things that are designed to change the underlying software of your operating system, which I don't know why it's not bringing up. Where's the Wikipedia article? So it will typically hook into your kernel or close to your kernel as close as possible, and it will change the underlying functionality of your computer. It is not a good piece of malware to have. In some cases, it can be almost impossible, if not impossible, to remove from your computer because it just really grips itself into the roots of your computer. And the only really way to get rid of it is to straight up just replace the computer or wipe your drive and reinstall the operating system. All right, it's basically can change the fundamentals of your operating system, which is why we went with the name Rootkit for us, because we are fundamentally changing your life at the very core root level. All right, we are rootkitting your life. So what does this mean? For example, let's talk about Riot Games. Riot Games uses a rootkit when you want to install and play Valorant. Also, there are, I forget what the other one is. There's another like high-end competition platform that you can install and it will do the same thing. What happens, for example, if you try to run our AI aimbot on Valorant, which is available on our GitHub repo, that will work pretty much anywhere. Because what happens in our application, I'll just pull it up because why not? Let's just go ahead and look at it. Our AI aimbot. We'll pull up the code here. So in here, there's a bunch of code, and if you're not familiar with our AI aimbot, pretty much you can select a game and run this bot, and it will, using machine learning, it's going to identify people and snap your aim to the person in game. It's 100% undetectable for almost every single game ever, because this is not the traditional way of hacking and making exploits for games. This is pretty much you doing a screen recorder like every streamer does, and then you moving your mouse, which every person does. It's not doing the traditional techniques of hooking into the application, so it's undetectable. Unless your Valorant, which has a rootkit. So if we look on some of these lines, this one in particular, don't worry about it, it's these key terms. This Win32 API, that stands for Windows, and it's a Windows API call. Remember API, we talked about a couple times, that's your application programming interface, all right? So this is us telling the operating system itself that we want you to move the mouse. Now, normally this will work, but since Valorant has a rootkit installed in your computer, they are able to intercept these calls and stop them from happening. They're able to change the operating system and how it functions. This is great for anti-cheat, but also, look, Riot Games is owned majority shares by the Chinese. I don't know about you, here at Rootkit, we have an anti-Chinese and anti-Russian stand. We actively block both of them, all right? Because they are malicious people. If you trust them, with your operating system and changing the core functionality of your operating system, you're fine. But if you don't trust them, if they can change the logic of how your mouse moves on your computer, imagine how much more they can do. Your power is unlimited. You can do anything and be 100% undetectable at the rootkit level. Asterisks, usually undetectable. Your Windows Defender and most antivirus software will be able to pick up on some of them, but that's a very big cat and mouse game. Also, rootkits are going to get you the most amount of moolah if you figure out how to make one or an exploit for it, because these ones are great. These ones are really great because they're almost impossible to detect. That brings us over to bootkits. If you guys have any questions, please ask and put them into the chat. Bootkits. Bootkits and rootkits are very, very similar. All right. The main difference between a bootkit is right here. So the rootkit will go after the operating system and change the operating system itself, potentially changing the kernel itself. Now, bootkits, on the other hand, will go even lower and farther. They'll change the master boot record of a computer. What is this? The master boot record of your computer is how your computer knows what drive to boot up and where. Because again, everything is data. So everyone in the computer world has agreed that you can use a master boot record, which is a very, very small application that basically tells you where in your disk or your solid state drive the operating system is and where does it start. Bootkits will infect things at that level or potentially even lower. They'll actually get into your potentially your motherboard and just the lowest like possible settings of everything that your computer has. This makes them 100% undetectable to anything you can install. You have to be an expert and know what you're looking for in order to find these things out. Because at this level, your operating system, it's not affecting your operating system. It's even further down than your operating system. So you live in operating system realm, and we'll get into the next book when we talk about operating systems. Pretty much, you live up above this level, all right? You live over here, it lives below here, and you have no clue of knowing what is going on below here. It's even worse, all right? This thing, bootkit, you definitely don't want. There's very few reasons why you would want a bootkit. There are, I guess you could maybe classify some motherboard softwares as being bootkits, but again, those would be normal software, not malicious software. The malware version, you definitely don't want. Oh no, I closed the Twitch stream. Any questions so far? Let me pull up the Twitch stream again. All right, let's move on to adware. Adware. Something that we all, I guess, for the older people out there, you would be more familiar with it. For the younger crowds, you're familiar with it for a different reason. Adware is pretty much just things that will spam you with ads. Whether that's software that will spam you with ads, or can I just get the Wikipedia article? So often called advertising supported software, it's software that generates revenue for its developers by generating online ads in the user interface. Technically, every website that you go to, typically on the modern web, is adware. Now, you don't really call it full-on adware because they've now made it's in the adware space, but now there's a more finely defined line for it. What would you have to do if you get one? Would it be as simple as replacing parts, or is this in regards to the bootkit or the rootkit? The bootkit. if you got a boot kit, depending on how far it exploited you, you would either need to replace your motherboard, or you would need to throw out your hard drive, or you could potentially completely format your hard drive and then save everything from there and then reinstall the operating system. Pretty much formatting your hard drive completely and reinstalling the operating, like 100% format, because you need to also erase the master boot record, which modern drives should let you do. I just did it the other day, or yeah, I was able to change between master boot record and another one. I'm not quite sure if it formatted it or not, but formatting should help in most cases. In more severe cases, you would have to straight up throw out your hard drive, because it would infect your hard drive's actual built-in code, because there is actually software that's in your hard drive from the manufacturer. So that could be potentially infected. If it is, the whole drive needs to go away. If the motherboard is infected, the whole motherboard needs to go away. Those are more on the extreme end. You will not just fall across one of those, all right? You will not just get one just because. Someone, again, you got to think of it this way. If someone is exploiting you, they are revealing that they have a tool. They are showing you their cards, because the cybersecurity game is pretty much poker. You will collect and manufacture a tool set, and you will keep your cards hidden. And as you see it fit and necessary, you will reveal those cards, because there are lots of antivirus systems. All Windows computers are built with antivirus in it, and Windows 24/7 monitors your operating system for malware, and your computer will report back its findings unless you explicitly opt out of a million things that they don't show you immediately. All right, if you are running Windows Defender, which you should be, Windows is reporting things back. If you have additional antivirus on top of that, those are always constantly 24/7 reporting back to the manufacturer everything it's finding. So you, as a hacker or a malicious person, you don't want to just be like, hey, there's that one kid that makes jack shit money, but he talks shit to me on fucking Fortnite. I guess I'm going to use this exploit on them. No, you can't just do that, because that exploit is, if you just got it off the shelf, it's already being looked for. It's already, like, applications already know about it, and they're going to stop it in its track. If it's something you just made, there's no monetary gain from that. If you have less than $100,000 in your bank account, guess what? No one really cares about you in this space, because you're not money. You're not big boy money. I'm not going to use one of these high-end things like a rootkit or boot kit to get into you. I'm going to be going after whales. I'm going to be going after corporations, people that have big bank accounts. All right, something that will make the headlines, multi-million dollars, not 10,000. Ooh, 10,000. Oh, so cool. That's not very much money. Whether you think it is or not, it's not. In the big scheme in corporate world, $10,000 is shat out for fucking fun. All right, it's nothing cool. Let's move on here. Any other questions? Sorry. Adware is used all the time now, especially on websites, but the adware that we're going to be talking about, which most people will see in website form, is when it is going to bring up actual pop-ups to the center of your screen that are ads. It will, like, you're looking at an article and it will stop and, like, bring up ads or load up ads, or maybe open new tabs automatically with ads on them. In the before days, before a lot of the modern internet, adware came in the form of you downloading an application, and that application would actually bring up windows, like new windows on your screen with ads, or it would even change the desktop of your computer to an ad. All right, and they make money off of you clicking on these ads accidentally. All right, any questions on that? We should all be pretty familiar with this, because ads are annoying, and pretty much people are using it on a almost crazy level right now in order to make money off of you, because again, they get paid per click. All right, so spyware, also very common along with rootkits. Or sorry, not rootkits, with Trojans. This can be also intertweaved with Trojans. They can, malware can be multiple of these things at the same time. So spyware is specifically going to be meant to spy on you. Can I just type in spyware? So Malwarebytes, Kaspersky, Norton are great for learning up on things. I don't recommend Kaspersky, but you can use it. They're Russian owned. All right, let's see here. So spyware is just for gathering information on you, all right? Whether that's logging all of your keystrokes, logging where your mouse is, logging where you go on a daily basis, your internet traffic, you're viewing your camera, if you have a mic, listening in on your mic. Any way they can spy on you, they'll do this. Typically, again, this is going to be for people of interest, all right, that they want to spy on you. If you are a normal average Joe, again, no one cares about you, all right? Most people, most hackers are not going to pay attention to you or waste their time on you, because if they're trying to send out spyware, again, they have to most likely make it from scratch, because most operating systems will identify it immediately. So they're playing one of their hidden cards. And then they're spying on you, which means you have to have something they want. You have to have something that's potentially useful to them. Maybe that's money. Maybe they want leverage on you. If you are a lonely McDonald's worker, guess what? I'm sorry to break it to you. You're just not that important to people. All right? You need to have typically some type of status, political status, where you can have leverage on someone, blackmail them. This is where spyware can be potentially very useful. Also, on normal day things, spyware is used all the time by Facebook and Google and technically Microsoft with their operating system, because they kind of do an okay job right now with disclosing what they collect on you, but they collect a lot on you. All these organizations have constantly been in the news for collecting information on you. Why? Not because any singular one of you are like super important to them, but as collectively, they can see what everyone's particular interest is, run machine learning models in order to better serve ads to you, in order to better serve engaging content to you that will make them money. All right, no one's actually physically behind any single individual person at a certain degree, but the main purpose is to try to automate the spyware with their algorithms in order to help you stay addicted to their platforms. All right, so again, malware is just normal software. There's a fine line between when it becomes malicious and it's not. Arguably, those platforms are malicious, all right? Depending on who you talk to. So they could be doing a malicious version of spyware. Any questions on that? And there is ransomware. Ransomware became very, very popular. Oh, I see a question. Do companies pay more for someone skilled in preventing attacks like these compared to the average programmer? Depends. Yes. If you are certified in things like Sec Plus and you are a cybersecurity guru along with programming, you can get compensated a lot more. All right. Cybersecurity is a very closed, cultish field. It's kind of hard to get into for the stupidest reasons. They have shortages of employees all of the time. You hear in the news people getting hacked all of the time. They don't teach you in most colleges any type of concept of malware. All right? They hide it behind you having to pay more to them, or they just are incompetent in general, which is the usual case. Most developers in the developing scene are just straight up incompetent when it comes to cybersecurity and how to protect or how to make these things. We want you guys to be competent. we force you to learn this stuff in order to pass our exam, because you guys need to know about these and how they can be used potentially for monetary gains, how they can be used for maliciously or non-maliciously, because all of these have non-malicious usages. All right, like spyware. Adware is used all the time to make money for websites. But yeah, I would say for average salary cap, you could easily make, at least in the US, 100 to 200K more than a developer, depending on your senior. What's the term? How senior you are in the field. So if a normal dev salary capped around 180 to 200 for whatever field you're in, if you are doing the same thing but have cybersecurity knowledge, or can spin that you're there for more of a cybersecurity need, you can easily shoot up to like 250, 300K, maybe even 350 for like your base salary at a more senior level. Let's see here. Ransomware. Ransomware really got into popularity during COVID. Is it because they need to know more or a lot more? Yes. Yes. Well, a lot more, but of different things. And again, cybersecurity is cult-like right now. We are here to tell you how to get into it. So our process right now, how it's set up, is you get our comp sci degree. We're teaching you everything you need to know about computers. Everything we're teaching you here, you need to know if you want to get into cybersecurity. You have to know everything that we've talked about networking, computers, hardware, to be a good cybersecurity professional, because you are either exploiting these things or you're trying to protect them. You cannot protect or exploit them if you don't know them from the inside out. All right, if you get our cert, that is when we will recommend you to go over to our partner company, rootkit.com. rootkit.com is still being stood up right now, but they are all about, once you have that base level, they'll help you learn and get really into the cybersecurity world. They are interviewing massive cyber criminals that you've seen or heard about in the news right now for their podcast series. It's going to be super, super awesome. They will have all the resources you need to get into that field and very much into that field. All right, we're at the entry level. You guys need to know all of this stuff first before we step there. Let's see. Or more due to the nature of the work. Do most jobs need or use clearances? A lot of cybersecurity jobs will be with your local government or government contract companies. All right, so it's best if you can find a way to get a security clearance. If you can't, it's just fine. There are lots of jobs that don't require security clearances to get into the field. All right. But you will need to suit up on certs, or usually get some type of experience prior, because entry-level jobs for the cybersecurity field in the private sector are very hard to come by. It's not impossible. We find them all the time, but they are harder to get. All right. But the good news is there's very little there are very little active employees in the space. So if there ever is a job listing, you have a high chance, higher than normal chance compared to other software development jobs, to get that position. The big thing is you would want to most likely focus on languages like C, C++, and assembly to really put the whipped cream on your ice cream sundae of a portfolio. All right, and we'll help you guys with that. As far as US goes, I'm not sure other countries. This is the same for every country. US, Canada, UK, Germany, like anywhere, your gov jobs will be the most abundant and easiest to get into if you can secure a clearance. And if you're not, or you can't get a clearance, then private sector is a-okay also. every major company that you know about has a cybersecurity section. So Google, Microsoft, Amazon, IBM, I forget some of the other ones. What some of the smaller companies do, so I don't know this I don't know this 100%, but I'm going to assume places like Snap Inc., which runs Snapchat. What a lot of these companies will do is they won't have their own cybersecurity firm. What they'll do is they'll branch out and hire contracts. They'll contract out another company that specializes in it. So in most of these cases, it's better if you find a company that specializes in cybersecurity, and they'll usually loan out or contract out their services. I got a pamphlet here. So a massive company for that would be something like Synac. So if you ever go to anything like DEF CON, B-Sides, Schmook, or they just had a cybersecurity event recently, if you go there, you'll meet a lot of these companies who are trying to hire individuals in the cybersecurity scene. They're looking for developers most of the time, because developers with cybersecurity are a rarity. So if you have both of them, it's going to be massive for you for getting a job here. So they do a lot of red teaming. Red teaming is white hat hacking. So people will literally pay you to hack their stuff or try to break into their stuff. All right, let's see. Talking about the fun stuff today, I see. Hey, I used to do that. Yeah. Hello, Jimbo. Welcome back. Yeah. Jimbo had fun doing red team. So there's red teams and blue teams. Blue teams are for protecting, all right? Red teams are for actively going out and hacking stuff. But again, the catch is for both of them, they're white hat events or white hat things. You are paid and you are hired legitimately prior to go out and perform whatever you are trying to perform. That red team training is so much fun. Yep. Ransomware. Okay. Any other questions before we move on to ransomware? All right. Ransomware really got popular during what do you call it? COVID. All right. This is just software that's meant to pretty much lock up your computer until you pay a ransom, or stop functionality in your computer until you pay a ransom. That functionality can vary, but it could be as severe as completely locking up your computer. And sometimes it will go even further and encrypt everything on your device. So even if you uninstalled it, all of your data would be completely gone unless you knew the encryption key. So it says here that it's malware from cryptovirology. That is a word, all right. That threatens to publish the victim's personal data or permanently block access to it unless a ransom is paid off. All right. They're locking up cryptologically, aka encrypting your data with a key until you pay some type of ransom. It could be your whole computer, it could be parts of your computer. It just totally depends. So this is a way, again, hackers utilize making money, because again, black hat hacking is typically for monetary gains. All right. So ransomware really picked up because they're like, hey, we can just combo this typically with things like worms and viruses, where they'll spread across the network pretty quickly and then lock it down, encrypt all their drives, and make their entire infrastructure useless until you pay the ransom. And there's typically no way out of it unless you pay the ransom. So you could potentially lose lots of devices through it. It is not something you want. All right, it's not fun. Again, along with bootkits and rootkits, typically your best course of action is to completely wipe your drive and reinstall your operating system and move forward and chalk it up to a loss, or throw out the drive completely and just buy a new one. All right, let us move forward here. Social engineering. Riot Games just got hacked. It was a social engineering hack. So the cool thing about these guys right here, these pieces of malware, typically they can be stopped. You can identify them. There are a lot of applications being built, monitoring going on 24/7. Windows Defender we talked about a bit, that is actively trying to make a safer computer like operating system environment. It's really hard to make successful pieces of malware anymore because of these reasons. At least sending them over the network. But again, physical access typically means you can compromise the computer no matter what. How do you get physical access if networks are getting even better and blocking all of this? You use social engineering. Social engineering is as old as dirt. All right, this hacking technique has been around since the world was around. All right, all it does is it's you persuading someone to do something that is potentially malicious. This does not just mean in the computer science space. This could mean at anywhere, all right? At anywhere, anytime when you persuade someone to do something malicious, you are social engineering them, all right? Other people might be calling it manipulation or gaslighting. Whatever you want to put on it, the proper term is going to be social engineering. Now, this is pretty much impossible to ever stop, or you can't really put too much technology wise in order to stop this, because if I call up, let's say, the IT department at Google, like the head of the IT department, and I tell them, and I act like I'm a Google employee and tell him I just sent him an email and I need him to like check something out in it, like, humans will always be exploitable. Humans are always the weakest element in a network, no matter how secure it becomes. I mean, you're securing everything for a reason. You're securing it because humans are destroying everything. All right, they're the ones compromising you, internally or externally. Social engineering is all about tricking employees of the current company into doing something they shouldn't do. So let's see what the actual definition on Wikipedia is here. It's a psychological manipulation of people into performing actions or divulging confidential information. All right. The divulging of confidential information could also be something big. Most hacks that happen nowadays that will make it into the news will usually start as social engineering, where I will typically send them emails, a call, and make them do something where if I have a piece of malware, instead of having to jump from the outside of their network, outside of their router, into the network, I'll just get someone on the phone or shoot them an email and have it embedded in there and have them open the email and start my malicious attack from inside of the network, because there's inherent trust for people that are inside of the network. So you don't have to get around so many security precautions. Some common ways of social engineering would be phishing, spear phishing, and whaling. All right, you might have heard of whaling before. Some of you may or not have heard of phishing before. Phishing emails are spam. You get spam all of the time. Those are all types of social engineering attacks. Let's go ahead and look at my spam, shall we? Hopefully this isn't a mistake. Let me pull up my inbox here. And let's go to spam. There we go. Here is a bunch of spam in my inbox here for my email. Get Bitcoin. Your feedback is important to us. A bunch of female stuff. There's usually lots of sex-oriented spam ads, all right? These are people that are sending you things. IRS has forgiven millions, all right? It's a low-level attack, a phishing attack, that's meant to just be very, very broad and try to reach as many people as possible. That's typically what... Oh, hell, you make this for the stream? What do you mean I make this? What's the email address? I mean, I'm not trying that hard to hide it, so you can probably find it. But what do you call it? The phishing in general, I mean, in general, it's for some type of spam campaign or targeted campaign against people. But phishing is, when it's used at just the phishing form, it's meant for wide use. All right, you're sending it just to everyone you possibly can get. Spear phishing is going to be a little bit more targeted. All right, you're not just sending a spam email campaign to anyone. You're sending a spam email campaigns to maybe a particular company, maybe just Google, or maybe just SpaceX, or maybe just Boeing, all right? Or maybe you're just targeting a industry as a whole, like, I don't know, a bunch of farms in Nebraska, all right? So it's still wide, but it's narrower than it would be normally. And what you're doing is you're forming these potentially emails or text messages or phone calls, leaving voicemails. It doesn't matter the medium. It could be even snail mail, where you're writing literally notes on or actual letters, and you're mailing them to them. All right. The phishing campaign is you just literally phishing to try to see if you can get someone on the reel. Whaling is going to be specific to usually one person. All right, maybe it could be several people, but it's like you're in the single digits. It's you trying to go after a whale. All right, someone big, someone important, whether that's the CEO of a massive company, whether that's the board, the board members of a company, whether that's a Congress member, all right, whether that's the president himself, all right, or herself, depending on where you live. You're going after someone of high value, and usually one person or a small handful, or I guess a small handful of people. And you are handcrafting these emails, text messages, calls, whatever you're doing to fit them perfectly, all right? To get them triggered in some way or pique their interest in some way where they open the email. Now, just because someone opens an email doesn't mean they are compromised or hacked. Usually there's an attachment to them. So if we go back to fun email land here, where we get to go look at more of my spam. All right, just because something here might be a spam, like this one obviously looks like spam. If I click on it, this obviously is spam. Me opening this does not make me compromised in most cases, all right? There will usually be an attachment that if you download and then open, whether it's a PDF file or something else like that, then you will be compromised. Also, you'll see here, there are lots of links literally everywhere. Even if I click right here, there's link in the middle of nowhere, all right? If you click on these links, you may be compromised, because what they'll do is they'll run a Google Chrome exploit or a Firefox exploit or an Opera exploit or whatever web browser there is. They might be running an exploit on your browser to then compromise your machine when you visit it. You have to visit the bad site in order to be hacked. Now, again, things are pretty secure in general. So coming across a normal spamming campaign that's there to implant something on your computer is more and more rare nowadays. Typically what they're going to do is, if you click on one of these, they're going to have a box for you to put in social security information, your credit card information, something of that various degree. All right, and they'll just take their bag and run. So be aware, this is a really bad spam campaign. It's common to get these ones, but there are actually really, really good spam campaigns. Let me see if I can find a really, really good one. This is not a really good one. Is this a good one? I'm even confused. What? Gov.br? I don't know what that one's in spam. Here we go. This, so auto insurance. No. All right. Well, I didn't come prepared with a good spam message. Oh, are these Verizon ones good? Nope, these ones, there's like nothing in most of these. Okay, so some of these will be really, really good, all right, where they'll actually look like they're from Google. They'll look like they're from Amazon. They'll look actually pretty legit. Those ones you need to be aware of. When you open these up, which you can open them, if you think something's spam and it didn't get sent to your spam box, you can look at the details here. Number one to throw you off is if it's not secure, so it's not encrypted. That should be an alert because then it's less reputable. Second, look at the domain that it came from, all right? If it was an Amazon.com email, supposedly, and the email's not from Amazon.com, then it's most likely not real. You have to use your own brain, look at things, analyze it, and come to some type of conclusion. All right? Very important you guys utilize your brain. I know they don't teach that much in school anymore, especially in college. They'll tell you what to think, not how to think. I'm telling you, look at things and conclude something. Everything is gray. Nothing is black and white, all right? Anyone claiming something is black and white in their reasoning in the real world is a fool. Run the opposite direction from them. Everything is gray, everything always depends, and there are always two sides to every coin. All right, let's move on here. Denial of service. This is a low-level attack, typically, asterisk there, typically a low-level attack in order to clog up a network. All right, they want you to not have access to that thing anymore. The most, let me talk about the second one first before we get to that. But the next one here is a DDoS. All right, this is a distributed denial of attack. All right, so this is going to be across multiple computers, not just one. You can run right now a denial of service attack on google.com. You won't really be successful, but you can try. You could do it with ping, for example. We showed how ping works and Google allows for pings, but Microsoft does not. You could send ping requests 1,000,000 times a second. That's trying to DOS them. That is a cybercrime. You can try it. You won't be successful, but you can go ahead. I should tell you that doing these on anyone's network without permission is a crime. Do not do it. It is a crime. If it's your own network, your own hardware, your own software in your own closed environment, guess what? Go crazy. No one cares. These things are not criminal to have. It's just all about how you use them. That is criminal. All right? So you can make rootkits, ransomware, phishing campaigns. That is fine. All right? That is A-OK. That is 100% legal for you to do. It becomes illegal if you're using it to compromise and extort other people, all right? So keep it within your own network. So DDoSing, very good DDoS, low orbit ion cannon. So the low orbit ion cannon is a infamous DDoS attack application that was built quite some time ago. There's also the, I think, high ion cannon. I forget. There's a high orbit ion cannon that was also made. So effectively, users would download this application, and then there were notable usages here where basically they all came together, and this was all orchestrated on 4chan, where they were like, hey, here's a program I made. It will perform DOSing. Let's all on this specific day DOS a certain organization. So I think they went after the Church of Scientology, and they went off a couple other places. It was used, I guess, by Anonymous for Operation Payback. So DDoS is orchestrated usage of a DOS attack, all right? These are some of the most famous ones because they were pretty much successful in taking down the services. Do not do this. Do not download this application, all right? This application has been linked to being spyware, all right? Do not download these applications. Do not use them. You can go to prison, all right? People from these attacks, They did not get everyone. They only got a couple to make an example, but they were prosecuted, all right? They were prosecuted and they were put into prison. Do not do something stupid just to go to prison, all right? At least make sure you get it in an orchestrated fashion and it actually works, all right? And it shows up in the news if you are going to go out. Go out with a bang, all right? Before you serve prison time. DDoSes are pretty harmless though in general, because you will bring down something for a temporary amount of time and then it will be back up. Now, if you're really smart, you'll use a combination of everything we talked about to exploit. That you can use phishing emails or social engineering to get yourself on a network and then start traversing it. Or you could potentially get the internet rallied behind for a DOS or a DDoS attack, and then you can hide your exploit in the mixture of everything that's going on and the craziness and get yourself through. Think of it like a stadium, all right? A stadium with a bunch of people out on the outside causing a riot. You can sneak your way nicely through, all right? Let's see here. Yes, I know they've become open source. Those ones that are open source, you can download and you can use, all right? Do not download anything that is pre-made, all right? Do not trust those, because lots of 12-year-old kids that want to be hackers are fantasizing, see those pre-made ones, download them, and they're usually packed with something, a little extra special sauce. Don't do it. You can download the open source ones if those are trusted. I don't know, just because it's open source does not mean it's trusted and it's good. I can put a virus in open source software and then tell you, hey, here's my open source AI aimbot right here. To the average person, they have no clue what my code does here. As far as you know, it could be a Trojan. What's a Trojan again? We talked about legitimate program that does the legitimate thing it's advertised for, but it has a little extra sauce in there for doing something malicious. That's what a lot of them are. So be careful. Let's see. Some cases you can open an email that compromises those in your address book. Yes, there are lots of different spam attacks out there for the phishing stuff. So be careful, be careful. What does the Flipper Zero fall under in context of cyber attacks? Flipper Zero. No clue. Let me look that up. What the hell is this? Is this what you're talking about? I don't think this is what you're talking about. It's a cool looking site though. Flipper Zero malware. Ongoing Flipper Zero phishing attacks. I'm guessing it's a phishing attack. A new phishing campaign is exploiting and increasing interest of the cyber community. Flipper is a multiple cyber tool for pen testing and hacking enthusiasts. Allows you. I'm kind of confused on what this thing does, but it labeled it as a phishing attack, so I'm gonna roll with what it said there. The WPA2 security vulnerability. WPA2 is insecure and has been insecure for a long time, and but it's hard to do the exploit. If you download Kali, you can exploit WPA2 Wi-Fi, all right? But it requires a certain specific conditions to be met in order for you to do it. It's a little bit of a hassle, but all wireless routers are exploitable with tools that are readily available on the market right at this moment. So okay, I see. There's been plenty of tools like this that are readily available already on the market. Those are usually called rubber duckies. Rubber duckies. I guess that's where they got their... Okay, now things are making more sense because it kind of gives off rubber ducky vibes. Rubber ducky wireless. Let's just type that in. So rubber ducky devices are something that's been that have been around for quite some time. They're devices to pretty much emulate a Wi-Fi connection or a hotspot. So if you go to Starbucks, you can pretty much stand up a new Starbucks Wi-Fi where you man-in-the-middle attack people. They're usually used for man-in-the-middle attacks. All right. So just like if you're using a VPN by a public provider, you are willingly and paying to be man-in-the-middle. If you buy a rubber ducky and then go over to like a Wi-Fi shop or a coffee shop or something that usually has Wi-Fi, it's called Starbucks Wi-Fi. You plug in the rubber ducky. Its job is to yell louder than the other Wi-Fi connection. So it yells louder, and you plug into it that you want your new router to be called Wi-Fi Ducky. Starbucks Wi-Fi. God. Starbucks Wi-Fi. And then you'll make basically people will either connect to it that are new, or even better, people that are already connected to the Wi-Fi will actually, their device will switch to yours depending on how well you mimicked it. It will auto switch to your device because your device will have a stronger signal, and then they'll go about their normal internet usage because a smart person will also connect to the normal internet, so that way they can run their traffic through you as if you were a VPN server, and then they can spy on everything you do. Yeah, there's plenty of tools like this in the cybersecurity. There's rubber duckies and some other tools. There's USB tools for doing like auto typing, and there's a bunch of tools. All right. Again, at the hardware level, if you get physical access to a computer, if I can see the USB ports, you're pretty much dead in the water. There are so many more exploits that are available that work very, very well and aggressively, but the issue is, how do you get to the computer? That is hard. All the movies that you see of people just browsing through the network, that is a lie. It is hard. It is hard and expensive to get through the network and get onto someone's computer. That's why things, again, phishing attacks and social engineering are very, very common today. Because why traverse through the network to get to a computer when you can just start from the inside? You can make people do something stupid and inject your malware onto their computer directly. All right, once you're there, it's easily to navigate through. All right, any other questions? If you are in the US of A, we highly recommend CompTIA's Security Plus cert. It's usually referred to as Sec Plus. If you want to get in the cybersecurity field, this is a requirement for most jobs. Usually it's a requirement to have Sec Plus and Net Plus. They are similarly priced to our certs. It costs, I think, $300, $350 for... There is $350 to take the exam. All right. There are lots of resources out there that you can just learn on your free time. You can also buy their book, which I think is like $200. Those are the cheapest ways to get their cert. To do an in-person class, it's usually 1 to 2 weeks and costs $5,000 plus. All right. Usually people won't pay for that. That will be, they are usually doing business to business sales. So AKA a business is paying for you to go here. But these are great, especially if you want to get jobs in the cybersecurity field. Get those along with this. The things you're learning right now will help you get those certs. Any other questions before we move forward? So firewalls. Firewalls used to be primarily hardware devices that would read and analyze traffic that went through your wires and would stop things that you weren't allowing. So let's see here. So lots of people, when they think of a computer network, they think of, their home has their little router that's right here. Why is it thin? I thought I put it bigger. And then your computer is going to be right here, and then your router is connected to your computer, and that's it. Your router is a combo device for most of the time in the consumer world, which means there's also a firewall built into it. They really do you really good on the routers in the consumer world. Even though they cost $100, $200, $300, trust me, it's a steal. You're getting a web server, a router, DHCP server, a firewall. What else are you getting? You're getting a lot of stuff in the consumer grade routers. In the corporate world, these routers don't really have much, right? They are just meant to do routing and routing really well. So how things would work in the corporate world is you'll have a dedicated router that's just meant for routing traffic. It doesn't do much else than that. Things from the internet will come in to the router, and then the router in line with the router, aka the connection will literally, like the wire will go from the router directly to a firewall. All right, we're gonna draw some fire on this. Yeah, there we go. A firewall used to be typically hardware, and so literally at the hardware level, there's no actual software programmed into it. It's actually just hardware they soldered together will read the data that's sent across the wire and then stop certain things from coming across that you don't want to come across. So usually you'll be looking for IP addresses that you don't want to come into your network. You'll be looking for ports that you don't want to come into your network. Those are the big two things that you'll typically look for. Now with smarter firewalls, they'll analyze the data inside of it, and based off what's inside of there, they'll block it. So if someone tries to send an exploit, that's a well-known exploit, a firewall nowadays will be able to read the packet information and then stop it from coming through. And you know what I also realized? We've been going on for too long. Let's take a break. All right, let's take a 3-5 minute break, and then we'll come back to and continue our chat about firewalls and how it protects you against exploits. I clicked a lot of the wrong things there. All right. All right. We are back. Continue our talk about exploits in network security. But before we do, we're a nonprofit, all right? We like giving away things for free because we, I don't know, we're just stupid. So, if you want something for free, come over to our site over here and you can get all of the stickers. This is all the stickers we have, including all of the exclusive 100 days of Rootkit stickers. All you have to do is just enter your email, name, and bam, you just complete simple tasks that cost you no money, like subscribing to our YouTube channel, following our Twitch, and various things like that. If you do like what we're doing and you want to help support us, that would be awesome. We have our charity stream going on. So that little bar up, am I pointing the right? There we go, over there. You can help us fill up that bar, and I'm going to send the link here in the chat that you guys can check out and donate. When you do donate, all donations for the first 10,000 are being matched 1-for-1 by an anonymous donor. The donor will be donating at the end of every single month during the streams and matching everything that it has come in so far. We have a bunch of little pillars here, like streaming for 24 hours straight, shaving my head, and the one I definitely don't want us to get to, which is shaving my beard live here on stream. We don't need that. All right, no one wants to see that. There are also rewards you can get for donating at certain tiers, like this amazing hoodie. Look at this thing. We got the Rootkit logo on the back. Super duper cool. All right, let us get back into our deep dive. So firewalls now are usually done with software. I see Jimbo is excited to get his hoodie. I'm sorry, Jimbo. Look, I got you and the person they responded that needed their hoodie. I still haven't sent them out yet. All right, I've been a little piece of trash. All right, I have not mailed them out yet. All right, please message me at the end of the stream today and remind me and harp on me so I can package them up and send them. All right. Because yeah, usually after stream I get busy with a bunch of Project 26 stuff. Didn't realize that we've gone so long without taking a break. Yeah, because hey, security is fun. All right. So firewalls now are usually done with software. So you'll have a normal computer sometimes, literally like a Windows computer or Linux computer, and they'll be running some type of software. All right. Software like the most common, one of the most common ones is going to be called Snort. All right. Snort is a piece of software you can get, and this is a firewall that you can utilize. It's specifically called an IPS. All right. And it is also an IDS. It doubles as both of them. It's made by Cisco. All right. Cisco is one of those companies that you've probably never heard of, but actually run the world. As you can see, they are they made $51 billion last year. Big company. They help stand up the infrastructure of the world as you know it, at least in most of the countries. All right, especially the U.S. They have their own dedicated certs that if you get, you are able to get jobs to work on this type of hardware. One is called the CCNA, which someone in the Discord has been asking a lot of questions about recently, and this is what they would be working on, is Cisco hardware. All right. If you ever watched the old show 24 TV show, I don't know why it was such a weird thing, but in the show they were heavily Cisco heavily advertised in the show, and basically in most of the scenes in the show you're typically going to see Cisco hardware. It's basically a fake intelligence agency. Pretty good show, I like it at least. But all right, let us move on. So firewalls, Snort. Basically the job of a firewall is to sniff and listen onto all traffic that's coming in and block things based off the rules that you have set up. So if you guys were here for when we went into AWS and we were configuring AWS box, there's this concept of zero trust. Basically, by default, your firewall will block everything going in and potentially even going out. So once you set up a firewall, basically you just killed your whole network because no one can leave the network and nothing can come in. And then you slowly open up just the things that you want to have open and available to people in your network and for people coming from the outside into your network. All right? Firewalls are just there to help protect unwanted connections. On top of you having dedicated firewalls, like in your router, or if you're in a corporation, an actual server that's a dedicated firewall, your operating system will also have a firewall. So if you type in firewall into Windows, you can get access to the Windows built-in firewall. Also, Linux machines will have their own firewall built in. This will basically do the same thing like we talked about. It will drop connections immediately. It won't even entertain that. If someone tries to exploit something on my computer, but I am denying all traffic coming in on that port, it doesn't even matter. Even if it's a 0 day, it doesn't even matter because my computer will just be like, yeah, no, I ain't talking to you. Like, my rules say so. All right, let's see here. Oh, perfect. So there's host-based and network-based firewall systems. So we talked about both of them right there. So your host-based firewall system is going to be on your actual computer. So Windows has a host-based firewall system, Linux does also. And then there's network-based firewalls, which are going to be dedicated hardware that is a firewall. So you'll see the pictures like this. It will be a dedicated server. So even though it shows it as a brick wall, all right, everything that you see in pictures about networks, the pictures are just there to help you better understand, but the picture just means a normal computer. All right. We've said it before, I'll say it again. Servers in your computer that you see in front of you, or the laptop you're on, or the phone you're on, they're all computers. They're all the same. All right. There's no distinguishing difference between all of them. They can all be servers. They can all be firewalls, all right? They can all be anything. It just comes down to the software and what you allow for those devices to use. So those are the two different types of firewalls you can have. It's important to know this, host and network based. Also, firewalls come into two flavors. I don't know why this is repeated on here, but it is. But there's IDS and IPS. All right, IDS is an intrusion detection system. IPS is a intrusion prevention system. So talking about something like Snort, Snort allows you to do either or. All right, you can have it be an IPS or an IDS. What's the difference? An IDS will sit there and just analyze. It will not stop anything. If someone is trying to exploit your network, it will just sit there and stare and be like, oh, look, there's an exploit. Good luck. It won't stop anything. It's just logging everything that comes across the wire. An IPS, on the other end, will be like, oh, whoa, hold up there. Get the hell out of here. An IPS will stop things from coming through, all right? It's proactive. IDS is not proactive. It's just there to monitor and alert on things that it sees come through that shouldn't really come through. There are reasons why you would want either or. An IPS is great for securing a network and being proactive. An operational network, you may want to have an IPS to stop things, but you gotta think more like, in this realm, you gotta think like a criminal and think like a cop, all right? And you need to think about multiple tiers, all right? If you are in the mindset of if a crime is happening, it needs to be stopped immediately, and there's no exception for letting it just happen, you should probably stop watching and participating in 100 Days of Rootkit because you won't make it far in the industry. There are times, just like in the real world, where it's better to just watch, be an IDS, let a crime take place, all right? Let the crime take place, see the damage it does, watch the havoc it wreaks, so that way you can potentially find identifying information of who did it. Take an example, maybe the real world. what's a good real world example right now? I don't know, someone's a crime ring, all right? You're watching some type of drug pusher, some mule push things, drugs, whatever it is, firearms, I don't know, you name it. Some type of illegal thing is happening. They're nobody, all right? Who cares? You want the big fish on top. So sometimes it's better just to watch it happen, keep track of that person, and then figure out who else is there, who else is in charge, how deep does this network go. All right, it's okay to accept destruction on a certain level. Let things play out and people's lives potentially be destroyed in order to solve the larger crime, the larger picture of things. That's the difference between IPS and IDS. They're for completely different reasons. In the networking world, we let this happen. Usually it's best to do this in a configuration called a honeypot. All right, a honeypot is basically a network besides your network. It's right beside your network, and it's meant to mimic reality. It's meant to look like a legitimate network where people are there and are on and are doing things. And what you'll do is you'll set up IDSs to not do anything, not to prevent it, but allow a hacker to come in and potentially destroy, mess up, infect the whole entire network. So that way you can see what they're doing, see how they move, capture any exploits they're doing. Because again, it's like you're playing poker. These hands of cards that you have, you're very limited on them, all right? And people don't want to reveal them unless it's absolutely necessary and they think they're going to get what they're trying to solve, because usually those are unknown exploits. Those are 0 days, things that no one's ever seen before. So if you set up a honeypot and you let it play out, you can potentially get 1 exploit, 2 exploits, 10 exploits that have never ever been seen before, and you can maybe trace it back to not just one person, not just 2, but maybe an entire government organization or an entire like crime organization, and you can see a larger, bigger picture. All right, there are multiple reasons why you would want to do one over the other, and there are great reasons all around. Any questions on that? Yep, I like that, Jimbo. An IDS is a surveillance system or a security camera, and an IPS is going to be the bouncer at the club. Any other questions that you guys have, comments, concerns? That pretty much covers our network security section. If you guys have any questions about any of these, want to hear more examples, more in-depth examples, just go ahead and ask. If you go to our Discord and over in the reverse engineering section here, we have pins. In these pins, there are lots of useful links for you to get into, sorry, not reverse engineering, cybersecurity. There are lots of useful pins for you to get into cybersecurity potentially. So we list our networking and protocol section because you need to know this in order to move forward. Metasploit is a great piece of software that has a lot of exploits built into it. Usually when people download things like Kali Linux, which if you're not familiar, Kali Linux is used, it's jam-packed, it's an operating system that's pre-packed with a bunch of exploit tools. Usually people just only deal with Metasploit when they download Kali Linux. You don't need to just download Kali Linux in order to get access to it. You can just download Metasploit. There are also sites like Hack the Box and Hack the Box and Can You Hack Me? Is that what it's called? Try Hack Me. All right. They are great. Try to Hack Me is great if you're new. Their courses are better for beginners, but they don't really have advanced stuff, right? It's not the top of the line. It's for when you're first starting out. Hack the Box is the high-end shit. This is for pros. This is what you want to do if you want to establish your name. Even better, if you join this I'm not going to log into it because I want to keep my profile on the down low. But if you are on this platform, they have lots of job listings from countries and from organizations all around the world that will hire you immediately based off of how well you do on this platform. So it's a great alternative to get into the cybersecurity space without actually having to go to college or do anything along those lines. All of these platforms are not just looking for normal cybersecurity professionals, because you can enter the cybersecurity realm and not know programming. There are lots of people in the cybersecurity realm that are like that. They are limited on their functionality and what they're able to do. If you know programming on top of that, you're potentially 10 times more attractive, because now you can make the tools that they need to be made in order to exploit or do things on the system, all right? It's just that much more powerful for you to do that and to know the whole thing, the whole shebang. So it's highly recommended that you continue with your 100 days of Rootkit, get certified, learn the programming aspect, and then do these extra things if you want to get into this field, all right? The field is not about typically building consumer products. A lot of the stuff that you do, no one will ever know about. You're not going to be typically notorious or famous. So if you want to make products that help everyday people's lives, or go work at something like I don't know, a dream company that you have that, you know, makes stuff, or you really want to become like, I don't know, super rich from your own company, cybersecurity may not be the way to do it. All right, there are ways you can go about it, but cybersecurity realm, typically people working in there are going to be more quiet. You have to be reserved. You don't want people to know about you because it's a risk. If you've pissed off because you've shown to the world that some crime org was doing X and you've pissed off people, they might want your head. It could be potentially life-threatening if you go into there, because you are entering the cop realm, all right? You're potentially being a cop. So just know it's a different type of mindset. It's not for everyone. Any other questions, comments, concerns? I'll wait around for like another extra minute or two. If you guys have questions, go in and drop them. So starting tomorrow, we are entering a new module. We're going to be starting with operating systems. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So in here, you guys are going to learn lots of stuff about operating systems, more than you ever knew was going on with an operating system. We're going to learn all types of different command line commands, so you can get proficient on the terminal. We're going to go over Unix, learn about Unix commands, and we're going to learn about some operating systems, other operating systems besides computers, like mobile OSs. We're going to talk about the kernel. We're talking about interrupts, device drivers, and virtualization. Lots of cool stuff that is going to be building off of everything we've been taught so far. So up until this point, you could have kind of joined with no knowledge and still gotten by. Moving forward, it's not recommended for you to join moving forward if you haven't watched the previous days. Watch the previous days so you are good for us moving forward, because we are going to be building upon these concepts. I'm going to start using more high-end language, like actual lingo and stuff, instead of simplifying things as much, because we've kind of simplified and talked about everything at a base like normal human level as much as possible, and now we're going to build upon these concepts. I'll still of course try to relate it to real world things moving forward when I can, but I don't want us to get slowed down too much, because there's a lot for us to talk about here, and it is getting into more complicated territory. Any questions on that? So it is recommended also, if you can, it's not required. You don't have to have fingers on keyboard time to pass the exam and to pass like these commands. If you don't have a Linux computer in order to run these commands, that's just fine. You can still pass the test. It's more so knowing what these things do and what results you get back. If you can download something like Docker, all right, or spin up a cloud EC2 instance or a Azure VM instance and have some type of VM so you have Windows and a Linux computer at the same time to mess with these, it will be beneficial for you, all right? But if you don't, it's okay. Just flashcards, all right? Flashcard what these things are and what they do. That will get you by on the test. That's the important thing to know. All right, any questions before we end today's stream? If you missed us setting up Docker, I'll go through again how to set up Docker. I'll post the link in the 100 Days of Rootkit. We're not doing dedicated setup during the stream, so don't ask if you're doing something right, because I'm not going to spend time helping you set anything up. Come set up prior to, or just follow along and make flashcards. I think you'll have several days, because this should be 1 day, this should be 2, this should be 3. So 4th day is when we will potentially be getting into these commands, so you have a little bit of time to get something set up. All right, sweet. All right, if no one has any questions, then we shall call this a day, and I will see you guys on the next one.